Let's get it on!
Sprawl and brawl, ground and pound. Get ready for an MMA showdown. Now, the ultimate Octagon Insider, Sean and Tristan DuCross.
What's up, fight fans? It's Tristan DuCross, and tonight, along my side, as always, is my brother and one and only Sean DuCross. Man, tonight on the Sports Wars, we're talking about retirements. We're talking about redemptions. We're talking about raw chaos. Jon Jones possibly walking away to Topiura versus Volk 2. To Biaggio Ali, who is who? Sean?
He is, the nephew to Muhammad Ali.
Copy that. Trying to live up to one of the greatest names in boxing history. So buckle up, people. This one is a war of words and a fight for facts.
Oh, the grandson, sorry.
There you go, the grandson. So this is a fight for facts, and let's get right into it. We had a little bit of minor technical difficulties, but make no mistake about it, we back in the business. So, Sean, as we get started, right, everything that has been circulating is none other than the man. Could you call him a myth now? Could you call him a legend, an icon, or is his legacy tarnished? Because we're talking about Jon Jones. Jon Jones announced his retirement. Tom Aspinall is the one that said he will verbally put him into retirement. Does that have an effect on his legacy? Because we're talking about perhaps one of the baddest mans on the planet. If you correct me if I'm wrong. This guy is 36 years old. He's young. He walked away from a two division champion. Arguably one of the best fighters in the world. And all I will ever know him as is simply a quitter.
Not necessarily just a quitter, Tristan, but you also have to talk about the biggest topic that's going to come from this, okay, is that Jon Jones retired, right? But what everybody's going to be talking about for the next months, weeks, years is GOAT status, Hall of Fame status. What exactly does his legacy look like? And before we touch on that, how ironic is it that this comes on the wake of the release of the video of his arrest of a DUI charge back in February?
Bro, does that surprise you?
So basically, he gets ahead of the game and goes, pause, hold up. I'm going to go ahead and retire beforehand. So he did this strategically in his placement of what it's going to look like for his future, because it's a DUI hit and run. He threatened an officer. It doesn't necessarily look good. Is he going to face jail time? Probably not. Let's just be real. The guy should have been in jail numerous of times. But unfortunately, athletes get certain things and it just doesn't happen according to plan. But I think that's what this is. But if you look at athlete-wise, that has the talent level that this guy has had, the level he has competed at, he should be synonymous with, yes, he is the GOAT. Yes, he is a future Hall of Famer. But this guy has numerous of issues that has gone against him. The DUI hit and run, the threatening of a police officer, the PED issues. How can you say he's a Hall of Famer or a future greatest of all time? Like, you can't even right now put him in the same level category as like a GSP.
I agree with that. The fact that he came off, Sean, he's never defended the world heavyweight title. He was supposed to defend the title against Stipe, and he never did. He was supposed to defend his title against Tom Aspinall, and never did. It's again, we talk about what he did, right, Sean? Remember with DC that that was the pinnacle of Jon Jones's career, was the stuff that he put together against DC. That's what I will try to hang on to, is that history and that blood feud that they had. But this Jon Jones that since then, that has mud on his face, I mean, it doesn't sit well with me, Sean.
Yeah, because he had the opportunity to really cement his legacy, and all he did was avoided it. Whether it was Tom Aspinall, whether it was Francis Ngannou, you just name it. There's a lot of levels to his fight game that he just simply avoided. And ironically, like he was supposed to defend his title against Miocic, tore his pec. So there's a lot of question marks for a guy that was once proclaimed as an elite fighter. That when you talked about Anderson Silva level, you talked about iconic moments in the octagon with Jon Jones. You talked about levels above everybody at every time, at every moment. He
Facts.
could come back at random times, and he was like the Michael Jordan of MMA. But it was those moments that still left so many people desired and hungry to see what the next level was. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago about him wanting to avoid fighting Tom Aspinall, or the fact that he wanted to fight, who was the other gentleman?
I'm drawing a blank too. So, when you're, Sean, where do you think right now Dana White says that Jon walked away on his own terms, but some fans feel that this is an anticlimactic exit? Will he stay retired, or is this just a ploy because of everything that's happening again around him?
Oh, it's Alex Pereira. Well, I just figured because you left me high and dry. So it's Alex Pereira that I was talking about. So we'll go back to your comment here in a second. But that was the other guy that I was talking about, that he wanted to fight so desperately, but yet he went this route. So go ahead and redo your statement real quick. I just wanted to put it out there for the fans.
That this exit is anticlimactic. So again, when you're looking at everything that has transpired, the avoiding of Pereira, the avoiding of Ngannou, the avoiding of Tom Aspinall, the avoiding of Stipe Miocic, and then the troubles that's now circling around, is just a ploy to get the spotlight off of him right now because of the troubles that once again is out there.
Yes, I just touched on that at the beginning. This is his MO, Tristan. He did this when he got in trouble with that hotel thing, and he went into hiding for a while. Then he came back. When he got popped for the PEDs, He came back after he went into hiding. It's what he does.
So was this the perfect time for him to retire?
Was it the perfect time for him to retire? Not necessarily. Was it his time to retire? Yes, because he's avoiding the spotlight because of the DUI charge that just came to light in the video.
Is his legacy stronger now that he left on top than when he was there?
No, because again, what we just covered, there are so many question marks for the guy's career that was once great. Literally, I just hit on all that. You can't make this up. This guy basically hands everything to everybody on a silver platter, and everybody just avoids the conversation. We talked about it a couple weeks ago about other athletes handing people on a silver platter and avoiding it. When it came to the Oscar De La Hoya thing 2 weeks ago that we talked about.
That nobody else will.
Oh, I'm afraid to talk about that. They do the same thing with Jon Jones. I'm afraid to talk about that. I don't want to touch that subject. I don't want to bury the guy. I don't want to say the negative things. But it's your job to talk about the negative.
Yes,
if it's there, it is your job to do that part. He puts everything out there for the people. So why are we not going to talk about it? Why we're not going to talk about it since 2012, Tristan? This guy has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 arrests, bro. 7. And you guys out there want to call him the greatest of all time. Let me run down his track record for you. DUI crash with a Bentley in 2012. He was arrested for a misdemeanor, fine, and his license suspended. Felony hit and run in 2015. Probation and drag racing arrest in 2015 reached a plea deal. Substance and violations in 2016 and 2017. Suspension, stripped of the titles. DWI and a firearm in 2020, an arrest. Domestic violence, vehicle tampering, 2021, he was arrested. Recent hit and run in 2025, misdemeanor, charge pending. Y'all want to call this guy the greatest of all time. Y'all want to support this guy and said that he's the best. Y'all got issues.
This is once again where fight fans can come off as hypocrites, can they not? Greatest of all time, but they look past everything else. You get in a dog fight, you think you're the baddest dog in the yard, but in reality, it's a front for something else that's behind the curtain. So I'm on board with two things, Sean. I'm taking away the greatest of all time title.
Rightfully so. You're welcome.
I am destroying his legacy.
I just did that. You're welcome.
And Tom Aspinall, rightfully so, will be forever known as the guy that simply retired Jon Jones
without trying,
by saying he was going to retire Jon Jones verbally without ever fighting him. And he freaking did that.
And now he's the champ.
Yes, elevated to the world heavyweight champ.
You're welcome.
In the history of sports, there's nobody that has verbally made a guy retire. And Tom Aspinall is the first ever fighter that can honestly tip his hat and hang it and say that I did it. I'm the first world heavyweight champion to make a guy quit without even fighting him.
Without throwing a punch. Without scoring a takedown.
Freaking amazing. Amazing. But you know what's amazing? Is apparently the UFC 317 card. Like, Ilya, Topia, Volkanovski too? Like, we going at 165 title fight as a catch weight
title fight
due to Oliveira being pulled.
Not just Oliveira.
Or withdrawing.
Not just
half the people that were in this fight, in this main event, are no longer in this main event.
So it was supposed to be Tapera versus Oliveira.
Right.
And then Oliveira pulled out due to needing surgery on a toe.
Yep.
Then his counterpart pulled out because his counterpart that was supposed to fill in against to fight Tapera for the title pulled out because he needed surgery. So then Volkanovski goes like,
"Hey, I'll do it.
I'm here."
Yep.
But wait, bro, you just got knocked out by this guy a couple months back, and you're moving up in weight to fight this guy that just knocked you out a couple months ago in a weight class below.
It is a very, very risky fight for him.
3 weeks notice.
To me,
You kidding?
yeah, but to me, Volkanovski, if anybody can come out on a 3 week notice and have a potentially game-changing fight, it's him. I just feel like that this is very risky. When you look at him, Sean, you just said, right? Lost a fight in what, 5 months?
Yeah.
So you lose a fight in 5 months, then you take a fight in on 3 weeks notice. The issue with that is that it's both risky because it could elevate him to another stratosphere. Because it could elevate his legacy and it could elevate his game because he would add a championship, correct? Right. You would assume that?
Yeah.
The other issue that I have with this is that, again, 5 months ago he lost. And it wasn't just a loss. It was a knockout loss. So if he loses again here on a 3-week notice. I don't think that gives him any saving grace. I honestly believe that damages whatever legacy or whatever his career has, because he lost via KO. He loses this one if in convention fashion, like he did with the KO. You really got to talk about where he stands now. I don't think that's out of bounds by any stretch. I think that's kind of where we're at with Volkanovski.
So you talk about legacy with Volkanovski.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about Topera has not gone past the third round in any of his recent fights.
Sure.
Knocked out Volkanovski 5 months ago. You talk about legacy.
Yep.
Let's turn the page a little bit. I'm going to go on the ladder and say that it's not necessarily about legacy that's I'm more worried about. When you fight as often and consistent as he has, and occasionally taking decent punishment in his bouts, I start to think of the future.
For Volk?
I think about what that future looks like. Does that future look like more of a Max Holloway who shows wear and tear, has flashes, or does he go the ladder of Tony Ferguson? A shell of himself. So this could go one of two different ways. He could shock the world on 3-week notice, take the title,
Or fall flat on his face.
and we could be wondering what his future is going to look like.
Correct.
So I don't think we're at the point yet to talk about legacy until after this fight, because it could go one of two different ways. Because you're talking about, again, the advantage that Volkanovski has here, Tristan, is the fact that he's just coming off of a recent fight, so he's still camp ready. He's still ready. Topera not only had to adjust his mentality of fighting Oliveira, then to the backup to Oliveira, now to Volkanovski. He's had to adjust to 3 different types of fighters. Are you telling me Topera knows exactly what Volkanovski he's going to get on a 3-week notice? You want to tell me if he's 100% prepared for this bout? I find that hard to believe. So if anything is going in the favor of a 3-week fight, is Volkanovski coming in still ready. It's going to be an interesting night.
So who do you have in this fight?
Just because I'm a big fan of Volkanovski, and this is a 3-week fight, I want to see somebody do it.
Did you have the co-main event of the evening? I can't even say this guy's name. This person's name, Sean. This is all you. Well, I butchered the last guy's name, and I didn't hear the end of it.
So if I'm right, it's Alexandre Potage versus Kai Kara France.
Okay.
Or KKF and AP.
I could deal with AP. I could deal with AP. I'll call him AP. 27-5 versus Kara France, who is 24-11. You want to talk a battle of different styles? If you want to talk about something that is a pure submission guy versus a pure wrestler, that's going to be wild in itself, because we are talking about a guy that has takedown defense like nobody's business, and a guy that thrives on the ground. So, if you look at Carl France, who struggles with elite fighters, but can finish them standing, what do you get out of this fight?
You get basically a guy that's going to be uncomfortable with standing on his feet. Because I don't see how AP is going to take down Carl France. You're talking about Carl France, who has 80% takedown defense. Sorry, a little parched. But he comes training out of the camp with Adesanya.
Yes.
And Volkanovski. Both great stand-up guys. So you've got a guy who could defend takedowns and a guy who could stand and trade. This 100% favors Carl France. 100%. So I don't see it going any other way than Carl France walking out with the victor with his hand raised.
That's where I'm going to shift a little bit. You say Carl France because of his takedown defense. His stand-up is impeccable, don't get me wrong. But Sean, if Biaggio, I hope that's right, or AP. Sean, if he could get a victory over Kai, we haven't seen this much destruction through the flyweight division since Demetrius Johnson. So if he gets through Kai, we're talking about AP now being elevated to that Demetrius Johnson level, because the last guy that cleared out a division, Sean, was Demetrius Johnson. Then he packed his bags and went to one and got traded for Ben Askren. We know how that ended up. So, again, possibly the best flyweight fighter since DJ versus probably arguably one of the best complete fighters in the division that could challenge him. I look at the main event and the co-main event, and I would like to switch the two. That's me.
That's why you got a main event and a co-main event. It could go either way.
It could.
But you're talking about another guy that could go either way that has shown a resurgence in Beneil Dariush.
Dariush, yes.
We have to have an honorable mention of Dariush. This guy is showing up and showing out. He's just coming off of an 8-fight win streak. His only last loss came to Oliveira, which, a lot of people lost to Oliveira.
He cannot, and I repeat, live right here with the DuCross Sports Wars. We're a combat sports talk show, so if you're just tuning into us, that's what you're listening to. You're listening to a combat sports talk show. We talk about MMA, boxing, you name it. Tonight we have a wide range of topics, and we're going to get to hopefully all of them tonight. But Sean,
so what is that 0 of 20 that you want people to share?
Hit the roses.
Is that roses?
I believe. Or what is it?
It's a funny looking.
Let them cook. Let them cook.
So hit the let them cook. We got to get to 20. Share us, like us, follow us, whatever else we need to do on TikTok to get us up there on the For You page. People, come on now.
Yep. Show us some love. We're new to this platform, and hopefully we can keep on growing on this platform. But yeah, Sean, Dariush, this card could either shape you or break you, because some of these guys that are on this card is oh my God, I could get you to the top and get us back to contention. And then there's people that if you lose, you are simply out of that contention.
Well,
and Dariush is right there.
For sure.
He's right there on that border. You lose, you might get a little stiff. If you win, you get a little bit of a stiff. You lose, well, back in the line, buddy.
Back in the line, gatekeeper mode. The road to the title may not be paved so well. So it's going to be an interesting, because he needs to win to stay in the top 10. So when you look at this, it's a very interesting and unique card for the fight fans to have something fun and unique to watch this weekend. It is a jam-packed fight night, because not only do you have that, but we'll also get to it, but you have UFC 317. You have the Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
Saturday.
So Saturday night is packed. But one thing we got to touch on.
What are you watching? What are you guys watching?
We'll find out.
Drop it in the chat. What are y'all watching this weekend?
Are you watching this? Or are you going to watch something else?
Jake Paul? UFC? Boxing?
But let's talk about boxing's legacy. The name. Biaggio Ali Walsh. This guy, if you don't know, you're going to know. So we're going to educate the fight fans a little bit.
The next Ali or a new chapter entirely?
He is 2-0 as a professional MMA fighter. He is signed to the PFL roster. He's a lightweight fighter.
Ooh, hold up real quick. Just because you said he signed to the PFL. Can we give a round of applause for Tommy the Duke Morrison's son? Showed up in BKFC and destroyed his opponent. So Morrison shows up, puts his father's legacy on the line, and shows out in his debut for BKFC. And now we're talking about potentially a new Ali in the forefront. And we're talking about it in a unique way that we've heard other potential Alis, but they never really established anything. Now you see him, grandson of the boxing legend, older brother of Nico, first in the Ali family to ever pursue MMA instead of boxing. This guy is a athlete.
If there's ever a thing of an athlete.
Right. Star running back at Bishop Gorman High School.
I guess that's what happens when you have the name Ali and you have the legacy behind you of every type of Ali having success in sports in general.
Right.
That I guess you go down your ladder of, okay, well, I want to try my success, see where my levels are at, where my successes are going to be. I want to try to pave my way. So as you start to talk about what he's competed in, what sport he's been active in, that tells me that's a guy that wanted to find his own way. Didn't want to just go and live on the name of Ali.
Sean, it's just like Evander Holyfield's son. Evander Holyfield's son is a pro wrestler. And he's on the future, the Legends of the Future Greats for the WWE right
LFG.
now. Yeah, LFG. And he doesn't want to be known for the Holyfield last name. He wants to build his own name. And that is exactly what Ali does. He has said publicly, he doesn't want to be known for the Ali name. He wants to be simply known as his own person and his own identity. And I get it, bro. A lot of these stars, you've seen it in all shapes and sizes, in all sports, Sean, that a lot of these kids that grow up, Sean, I'll throw another one out there. We're going to go completely out of script off of this one real quick, is Sean, Calvin Biggio didn't want to live up to his dad's legacy or his name, and spotlight might have been too much for him, and he burned out, right? Just floundered. Didn't do anything. Couldn't live up to his names. What about Clemens? Right?
But I mean, Cody Clemens has shown that he's a serviceable player for the Minnesota Twins.
Right. But I'm just saying is that when you look at names and they have longevity to them or a history to them, most of the time that history of that name carries such a burden or such a pressure that is built upon them.
And some are built to handle it and some aren't. Because you look at, if you're talking about names and legacies, you look at Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You look at Dante Bichette.
Owns those names, owns their father's legacies, owns what they do, takes that pressure and runs with it. Ali Walsh can do that and believes he can be that person that controls his own legacy and controls that Ali name to continue to move it forward rather than backwards. And by doing so, he has shifted the narrative. Instead of boxing, it's MMA. And I applaud that effort because when you're in the boxing world, that Ali name will carry way more weight. Morrison, that name, carry more weight in boxing. So he goes to BKFC to create his own.
You got to look at too, like can he follow in the footsteps of AJ McKee and Antonio McKee?
Yep.
Can he, if you're talking about boxing, Tim Tszyu and Costa Tszyu, probably butchering the last two names. But the level's endless. It's what they choose to do and how they choose to handle the spotlight.
And with him, I repeat, do not go fast with him. Because
and that's what PFL's looking not to do.
Sean, because he's only had 8 total fights in his whole entire MMA career, from his amateur to his pro.
6, 5-1.
Okay. No, that's amateur. Yeah. But I'm talking about total fights.
Oh, yeah.
This dude has had 8 fights. So let's not crown him just yet. Building him up is going to be the way of the future with him. But by doing that, you got to do it with solid matchmaking, but don't make him look like a chump.
Right. And you got to give him stylistic matchups where it makes sense. When you watch Ali fight, and I say Ali, when you watch Biaggio Ali Walsh fight, he is exactly what an Ali looks like. A boxer.
So,
clean, good head movement,
right.
Just like his brother Nico. The only thing different, Nico's boxing. His brother is not.
Right. So again, 2 questions for you, brother. Does he have the tools to compete in MMA? 1. And how about, since we all love this tournament format most of the time, do you throw him in this season?
Not yet, but I mean, it would be good training for him. It would be a good opportunity for him, but I think you'd be almost crazy to be doing that, because if you're talking about building the guy slowly, giving him good, solid matchups, getting him recognition, no, you don't throw him into that yet. You work him in slowly.
And do you know what this is? Do you know what that is?
Money. This has money written all over it.
Do you know what's coming up? The 28th? On pay-per-view? At the Honda Center? The Zone pay-per-view? Knock, knock. Knock, knock. The biggest payday ever for Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus the man, Jake Paul. Y'all must get it completely twisted because you guys didn't want to believe that Jake Paul was becoming a real boxer. Fight a real boxer. Fight a real boxer. I'm a real boy. Nope. Here we are. I had this conversation earlier, a couple days ago, with our dad, Sean, because I just want to let everybody know that Jake Paul got Julio Cesar Chavez not because he wanted Julio Cesar Chavez, but because boxing told Jake Paul, according to now, this is according to Jake, that he was told by Boxing Commission that if he wants to be a ranked fighter, he had to fight Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. If he wants a ranked fight and be a contender for possibly a championship, he had to fight Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So here's the added pressure, guys. We are now, what? At a different elevated level for Jake Paul. And I say that because we have seen Jake Paul put on weird fights, right? Knock people out, have fancy showboat things, correct? Fought Tyson Fury's brother and lost.
Stop right there. That's where the caveat is for this fight. Okay? You're talking about he was told to fight a boxer. If you notice the trend with Jake Paul's avoidance of fighting a real boxer, he lost to the first real boxer he ever fought.
Yes, this is true.
Which was Tommy Fury.
Yep.
Who was way less than what Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is. Not to take anything away from Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. The record speaks for itself.
Right.
The dude is a former WBC middleweight. The dude is 46-6-1. The dude, his name is Julio Cesar Chavez.
The name
The
carries
pride
weight.
of Mexico.
Yep.
You talk about legacy. You talk about that elevation. You look at this and you say this is going to be the same fate as Tommy Fury.
I think so.
But my concern still lies with who Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
Truly
has
is.
become.
Yep.
That was weird.
Really, Sean?
Sorry.
It's a live show. Can you stay focused for like 2 seconds?
Well, when you hear sirens go off, like,
It's not us. We're not burning down.
I don't care. That was loud enough in my backyard to make me go, oh.
No, we're fine. We are fine. Relax, okay?
But yeah, so you look at that, okay, and you look at Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. It just terrifies me that the guy lost to Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
The guy has missed weight. He looks good.
For the first time in a while.
He looks good. But it just terrifies me about, are we getting an authentic Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. for the fight? Or are we just getting somebody that's here to collect the money? That's my concern. Because if it goes the way that it's supposed to go, on paper.
I really, really, really want Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. to win.
So do I.
I really do.
So do I, considering that.
But then I look at Jake Paul, and this guy has seriously keeps getting better.
And
then when I look at, and then again, right? I look at how can you get better? How can you move? How can you start adapting and changing your game? And then this guy goes out of his way again to show me something completely different and join the camp of Sugar Shane Mosley. Like, I keep waiting for this guy to fall off the planet like everybody else wants him to do and root for him to fall flat, root for him to lose. And I'm starting to be the one that is like,
And that's the problem, Tristan. We've talked about it.
He's going to become a nightmare for people.
That's the thing we keep talking about is that every time you want to hate on the guy goes, okay, you doubt me? Guess what? I'm going to take what you throw at me, and I'm going to win and show you why I'm continuing to be levels above when it comes to boxing and marketing. Because in a couple weeks, we're going to talk about the fact that he's the first ever promoter to put on an all-women's boxing event in Madison Square Garden, bro. So he's doing stuff at levels he shouldn't be doing. But that's the thing, is that when he's focused and he's dialed, it's hard to really put him past. There's more doubt and uncertainty around Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. than there is around what you're going to get with Jake Paul.
Yes.
That's bad.
Yep. And what's bad, too, is that, Sean, we're talking about a name and a legacy, which seems to be a tie-in to the show. Julio Cesar Chavez, just say that. With the amount of respect and the amount of fights that this family has had, and again, right, we talked about the Alis, we talked about the Holyfields, we talked about where the families and the pressure kind of lies in. He's never been able to handle the pressure of what his dad was and where his dad was elevated boxing. He's never been able to handle that pressure. And if he loses, he has said he will retire and disappear. Do you think that is even on the front of his mind? Because now if you have that mindset, to me, that's a kill switch. And I say that because he already has the history of being down on himself, down on his luck, drugs, other issues, pressure of his family. He doesn't need that added pressure that if he loses, he is done. Because if he fights scared, if he fights not to lose, he will lose. Do you not understand that? There was way more on the table for Julio Cesar Chavez to continue that legacy growth of that name, or Jake's ascension towards the top, regardless of where you all like it or not. The YouTuber will be at the top of the food chain sooner rather than later. And who's going to be standing across from him is going to be a question that more people will have to start talking about, because if he is ranked, oh, now there is no question that there is no more of this. He's not a real boxer. He's not a real boy. His wish came true.
So let me put this into perspective for you, okay?
Geppetto made him. Just saying.
Well, you may be able to call Geppetto Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. So, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr.'s record, okay? And I'll put this into perspective of where I'm going with this. Julio Cesar Chavez, 107-6 in 2. His son, 46-6 in 1. So if Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has really turned the corner, and he's the real deal, one, he could very well go on a trajectory and join his dad at legacy levels that many people didn't think he was going to go.
Yep.
We talk about what type of fighter we're going to get with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. If we're talking about legitimacy and if he's ready, this is the first time since 2012 that his dad's in his corner. Let that one marinate.
So and we know the history,
volumes,
because we know what this fight now means to the legacy of the Chavez Jr.'s name.
Or the Chavez name in general.
Right.
Is that your dad is back in your corner for the first time in several years.
There was no doubt that this is a big-time fight, not only for Jake Paul, but this is a big-time fight, and probably the biggest fight, Sean, of Junior's life, both personally and professionally.
It's not just the Tommy Fury of the fight where the Fury name's on the line. No, when you think professional boxing's legacy in the Hispanic community, you know and respect the Chavez name. I grew up watching Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. rocking that Mexican headband coming down into the ring.
Like his dad.
No, that's Senior.
Yep.
I remember him vividly growing up as a kid, watching him walking down with that headband.
And now his son will probably be with his dad walking down with that headband and him walking in with that headband.
So there's such iconic moments.
Facts.
That I can't wait to see how this fight's going to go.
So with that being said, Sean, if Jake wins, I'm 100% on board. He calls out a ranked fighter. Because if it's true, and this is how this is going to play out, because the boxing commissions has said you must fight him to be ranked. Okay? That's one. Or will Chavez finally put his stamp on the boxing world and erase all the bad taste in everybody's mouth and allow him to turn the page in his story?
You talk about turning the page in his story. I can't help but look at the stat comparison and go, again, the back of my head has me so nervous that we may see Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Because
I don't want
when
it.
you, because
I
when
don't want
you,
it. We don't want it.
I know that.
I'm wearing Mike Tyson's shirt right now. I don't want it.
I know that. But when you look at the amount of fights,
Yes.
boxing bouts that Julio Cesar Chavez has on record, and what his record is at the moment of 53-6-1, 60% of his wins are via knockout. That is too much pedigree for Jake Paul to overcome.
100%.
So if it's too much for Jake Paul to overcome, the fight's got to be fixed. This has got to be the second coming of Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul.
We can't keep going down this rabbit hole. Like, that's what I'm talking about is that.
I'm just saying, you want to look at the stats
I know.
and tell me?
I know.
I don't want to say that, but again, we just talked about it 2 weeks ago about boxing being corrupt.
Bro, have you seen the photo of Bud Crawford and Canelo having dinner together? That's sketchy.
Did you watch any of that? Any of the sit-down interview with him, Dana White, and Tom Brady? Excuse you?
Oh, my God.
We could do a better sit-down interview than those two. No offense.
You put Tom Brady in a sit-down interview with boxing and have no idea about boxing.
That's like putting Stephen A. Smith out there.
Can we not talk about that guy either?
I'm just saying. When Stephen
Just
A. went viral for that video.
Just because they talk sports does not mean that they know a lick about the combat sports world. Factual. RC, DC, sorry. RC, you're lucky you have DC with you. Just saying. Max Kellerman finally back in the fight game, and he's with Zuffa Boxing. Smartest bet ever. Thank you. Thank you for bringing Max Kellerman back. Jesus, Murphy.
Jesus, Murphy, you're talking about what happened in wrestling this week, bro.
One word.
Uh-huh.
No yeet.
No yeet.
No yeet. Weird. They take the title off of Jay. We don't know where we're going with Cody.
No, we know exactly where we're going with Cody. Cody is Hulk Hogan. You take not one, not two, not three, but you take like four and then a flying super kick that literally crushes Cody's head in. And Cody gets hit with a crossroads. He gets hit with the Uso splash. What else could you possibly hit? You hit the kitchen sink on Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes still kicked out to advance in the King of the Ring tournament to face Randy Orton. You know where we're going with this. You know we're going to get Cody versus John Cena all over again.
For the title.
At SummerSlam.
Although if I had my 2 cents, it feels, don't get me wrong, it feels like that we're going the same story of Daniel Bryan and Sami Zayn. But with a little bit of a twist, because Killer Cross is lurking in the background, who has a fight. And I was talking to one of my boys at work about this. What's that? You're trying to get sympathy built onto Sami Zayn. You're trying to elevate him into a title picture, which kind of looks like what they're doing, right? But you have Killer Cross. What was Killer Cross's whole sole issue with Alan Jones, AJ Styles? He was a pro wrestler first before an entertainer, was he not?
Yeah.
He did not like how Logan got thrown into pro wrestling. He's okay with it being a pro wrestler, not about what he's about. You look at Sami Zayn, who continues to be overlooked and undermatched and everything else in between, and Killer Cross is trying to say, bro, you were on the circuit just like everybody else. You were that guy just like me. You joined the E because you wanted a shot and an opportunity. You didn't take it. You became soft, overlooked, and pushed to the back. Killer Cross, same thing. Overlooked, pushed to the back, right? Now you get Killer Cross and Sami Zayn, and you know what I would do in that match? You want to talk about sympathy? You want to talk about elevating Sami Zayn? Why not have Killer Cross go in there and absolutely murder him? Go in there, wreck him, and leave. I am Killer Cross. If ain't nobody going to take me serious, and you're not going to take me serious, you're not listening to me, you want to be in the title picture? Show me why you're worth it. Go in there and wreck him. And then watch him build up. Then now he has to dig. Now he has to find something else that's going to motivate him.
What does that do? Because you have Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
CM Punk.
Yep.
Seth Rollins. John Cena. And I believe I just said Randy Orton.
But none of them are being put into this story right now.
Because unfortunately, you got to do silly storylines that don't make a lot of sense to fill. That's how you have to do it right now. That's the problem I have right now with WWE is their stuff is stagnant. Their stuff doesn't make a lot of sense. Doesn't have a lot of continuity. Okay? I was listening to this part the other day, and I get that they have a platform that's bigger than us. I get that they have a platform bigger than a lot of other like wrestling podcasts. And that's busted open. I get that they're wrestlers and they have a lot more substance than we do, right?
Yes.
But from a fan's perspective and from Dave LaGreca's perspective of being a fan, I found this hard. So they're talking about Cody Rhodes. Bully Ray and Dave LaGreca were talking about Cody Rhodes. And he was talking about how fans want to reach out and touch Cody Rhodes. And Bully Ray says, you just said it right there. Reach out and touch Cody Rhodes because of his dad's promo of, what was it, Bad Days or whatever that promo was. And I was like, that's wrong. Because I don't feel like I want to reach out and touch Cody Rhodes. I feel like we're just regurgitating the same thing. He gets put over. He just has the whoa chant for his entrance song. He's basically Hulk Hogan.
This is true.
why can't he lose? That was the problem with him that I had in AEW.
He didn't want to lose.
Was that he left AEW because he made the wrong decision about never being able to chase the AEW title.
That was the dumbest thing he could ever do in the history of AEW.
So now he can't take a step back and let somebody like Jey Uso run the ship? He's got to politic his way to staying at the top of the food chain because he's the quarterback of WWE right now? Because he does a lot of the meet and greets? Like, I don't understand where the fan base or the thought logic or everything else is for Cody Rhodes. Like, he's so stale, and yet everybody else in the media game is continuously eating out of his plate.
This is where I believe the media has 100% lost its lust and hunger for actually having tough conversations or conversations that is vastly different from left to right.
Right.
And I say that because, again, we're the ones that are not afraid to toe that line or cross that line. We are not the ones. We will give you a different perspective, a difference of opinion, and you guys will either like it or you don't, and that is your opinion. But we will not shy away from conversations because everybody else shies away from those conversations. We will dig our heels in and we will bite off more than we can chew. Trust me on that.
It's just like Tristan. So you talk about
Fight Book MMA.
You talk about everybody else, right? Talking about putting Cody Rhodes on that platter, right? Again, I went a different route this past week. Everybody, again, them included. They mentioned about how John Cena's pipe bomb, right, against CM Punk.
Was that a pipe bomb?
It was. And we'll get to that part in a second. But people were talking about, oh, John Cena's heel turn. Not really that big of a deal. It's full and flip, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay. Again, fans' perspective, right? Fans' perspective. With the John Cena pipe bomb. It was cute that he mirrored the first half of his pipe bomb to that of CM Punk. By the end of it, I heard Busted Open. I heard the people associated on social media with Busted Open. I heard other TikTok influencers for wrestling, big names on TikTok, talk about how that, oh my God, this was the best heel promo.
It wasn't really a heel promo.
That's the problem. He made CM Punk the heel in that moment.
Yep.
By the end of that promo, Tristan, people were chanting for Cena. Cena was smirking. He was smiling. I feel bad in that moment because he punked out CM Punk. He subsequently made Punk the heel. We're talking about a heel turn, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever gotten a full transition of what a heel turn is for Cena because Cena's just telling people the way that he felt or feels in the moment, good, bad, or indifferent.
And you know why?
He's a tweener.
I was just going to say that. You know why he's a tweener? Sean, because how long did you get Cena sucks, Cena sucks, right? How long did we get the 50-50 crowd? So we all wanted him to do a heel turn, but he never really did a full heel turn. He did what I would call a 50-50 turn. He is going to tell you and educate you guys on why he felt that it's your 50-50 BS that turned him this way. So if you're 50-50, I'm going to be 50-50 kind of deal. That's the way that his promos come off.
Because it's at the end of the day, it's going to make him have that ability to Hulk Hogan it. When Hulk Hogan turned NWO, and then when Hulk Hogan became Hulkamania again, the fans didn't really hate him towards the end of the NWO run. They gave him enough leverage to go, you know what? Pause. hold on, we're going to eventually flip you. That's where we're at with John Cena. They're giving enough string, but he's Hulk Hoganing it.
Right. And here you go with Cena saying that in 6 months, it will determine whether or not he stays what he's doing or he switches to babyface. Why would you come out and say that? Why is that necessary? But yet, wait for it, Sean. Nobody's going to talk about that. You won't hear Busted Open. You won't hear anybody talk about him saying, in 6 months, the fans will determine what he's going to do next.
Again, too, you're not hiding the fact that he's still out there shaking hands, being nice to fans. They're not hiding that.
So you can't tell me he's a heel if he can't be a heel. He's not protecting the narrative. And then what's not protecting the narrative again is we got Goldberg for Gunther. The last wrestling match of Goldberg's career is it against Gunther?
In Atlanta, Georgia?
In Atlanta, Georgia, which I get is his home, but no build. Showed up.
Something that should have been built up the first time when they had that confrontation at the guardrail.
And why does it have to be for a world title? Why?
Because it's an easy out. Goldberg wins the title on Saturday Night Main Event.
Retires
in his hometown?
it?
No. Because then, what's his name? Seth Rollins cashes in. Cashes in and becomes your new world champion.
Yeah. And the only,
Sean,
and the only logic behind this is Atlanta, Georgia, WCW. Goldberg, WCW. Gunther has the WCW, essentially the makeshift WCW world title.
Right.
So if you play that into perspective, then cool. Awesome. You have a world title fight versus Goldberg and Gunther. And I pray to. It could be a decent match just because we're talking about physicality and these two can bring it. I just pray that Goldberg doesn't knock himself out before he comes out to the ring. Just saying.
Well, are we really going to see Gunther chop the holy hell out of him?
Ooh, I wish you would. That's what I would say. Wish you would. But we are the DuCross brothers. I'm Tristan DuCross. That is my brother, Sean DuCross. This is a wrap for us. Love you guys. Till next time. We are the DuCross brothers. Cross that line. Follow us on all the socials. Subscribe to us on TikTok. We are now doing it right here live on TikTok. Yes. Oh, we are. So until next time, same bad channel, same bad time. We're out.
Let's get it on! Sprawl and brawl, ground and pound. Get ready for an MMA showdown. Now the ultimate Octagon Insider, Sean and Tristan DuCross.